Ladies and gentlemen, Speaker Sir, we are really proud of holding this motion today because we believe this is not only close to our heart, but this deals with something at the very core of academic research and contribution in terms of revolutionary changes that it brings to society in terms of academic inputs. What we on closing side want to give you are two extensions. Firstly, we're going to reassess the relationship between the university and the student and show you why research work falls outside the domain of the relationship between the university and student, given this university's purpose as a seat of education historically. But the second most important argument we're going to make, which is extremely crucial to this debate, is the idea of complete autonomy over the way the associations are drawn with your academic research and where it is ultimately employed. We believe this is one of the most fundamental rewards that you must protect, that cannot be quantified in the manner of monetary rewards as brought up in the opening half of this debate. Before I move on, let's go with a quick few rebuttals which do not already overlap with what opening brought out. So we have three things to point out, right? Because under their model, they first started with the idea of commercial benefit and how they're going to share resources. We haven't seen a single argument on their side to prove that there's going to exist any independent incentive for this person to come up with something extremely original. Because the effort that goes in and the investment of mental and intellectual effort that goes in to bring something so revolutionary that no one has done it in the past in a top university which has extremely competitive atmosphere is something which requires huge amounts of motivation. We don't think a simple commercial benefit sharing agreement is going to push them to this level. We think we're going to lose out on this valuable input in academic research, right? Secondly, they talked about hurdles to universities because students might not agree and universities are in a better position to disseminate this information. We disagree. Why are you presuming that these resources will not get disseminated equally well if the student chooses to do it by his own volition? We have open sharing networks like SSRN and like open source network, or for that matter Scribe, where people put out information which are sought out by academicians all over the world. These are not only very extremely expedient means to spread network, but this is also very accessible to all people. But lastly, they said that this entire idea of greedy and bad professor taking away, but they're not really demons because they have better ways of disseminating this. Why can't the student do it himself? But more importantly, why will a student want to share this when the professor gets the credit for this? We don't have sufficient engagement on that side. What are you going to argue over here? Let's first understand historically why universities were created as interesting and innovative enterprises to allow seats of education to take place. People who wanted to commit their lives to providing something to society through intensive research and observation around themselves and complete it into a novel creation of some form of academic output needed some form of institution that would bring together resources and enable them to sit together in a web or network of interesting peer students who would have a similar objective of producing these high quality academic output, right? Because let's understand one thing in this motion, that the people we're talking about are people who are extremely involved in, invested in academia, because they want to dedicate their entire academic life to providing this output, and that's their primary interest. The university in this case has a unique relationship with the student. The university is not an end in itself. The university historically was an enterprise to create a transition for students to come together, bring knowledge pools together, create access to this information, and allow the students to manifest their knowledge and ideas into academic output. The university's benefit in this regard is truly restricted to the monetary benefit they give to sustain themselves as profit-based corporate institutions. Which means this, if a student is paying a university for academic input, we don't think the student's obligation to give back to the university is in the form of academic output, but really in terms of the fees he pays. We think the university gets enough credit by priding in their alumni. Harvard, Yale, Cambridge and Oxford are extremely famous institutions for producing geniuses that have changed the face of this world with academic output. That's the kind of credit the university anyway derives. We believe that the domain of relationship of mutually beneficial enterprise is solely restricted to this. The university is like an employee of the student pays its employee money, the university creates access as an employee, and you as a student use it for your personal benefit. That is the sole motivation, and the relationship the university rests with the student. We don't think that additionally the university can claim over its research output, right? But let's get to the most important point in this debate. We believe that the association that an academic output derives towards its author or creator is extremely important. What do I mean by this? any work that I create, any is extremely valuable to the student in ways that are not quantifiable as a monetary benefit. There are two dimensions to this. One is the ideological dimension, that I might ideologically connect to my work and want to use it in one particular way, or create associations of that work in the way it's ultimately used in society in one particular way. But the second thing is everything I do is by means of fulfilling my highest academic aspirations of being recognized as an academic genius or an academic student. We believe therefore that a lot of what your work is, the way your work is projected, is consequential in determining the academic estimation the peer community of academia has in you. And your interest in projecting yourself as an important part of the academic community is one of the biggest aspirations of any person who dedicates his university life to research. We believe this happens in many cases. Imagine that you come up with a very, very innovative original idea of alternative fuel energy, and you only want to associate that work with beneficial uses. But the university under their paradigm takes your work, shares it, gives you a bit of money, and then puts it in bad uses. For example, like giving it to MNCs who want to conceal this information and use it in particular ways. We think this association is dangerous because you will place extremely high value on the association that academic output creates with different institutions and users. If you come up with a very innovative economic policy that would solve the problems of structuring in corporations, and you don't want to give this to, you want to give this to microcredit institutions, but you don't want to give it to banks, we think that if a university sells this to bank to get a sponsorship deal or something like that, this association will be drawn that you as an academic economist are contributing to the functioning of these banks. And these connections are extremely valuable because this decides the estimation the academic community has of you as a member of the community. Because academia places a heavy premium on what kind of uses you put your academic input to. And we believe that in any debate about consent and autonomy related to academic research must also relate to the way your academic research is used. For example, in their own understanding, when they come up with an extremely good software company, software code, usually the association drawn is they give it to some company for their own private benefit is much worse than giving the software for using it for education. These associations are extremely important because if they don't get the consent, they do not get to decide how the academic institution is run. If I want to publish my work in a journal as reputed as Cambridge or Oxford Journal and not something like the LLSI Journal or Intellectual Property Law, then we believe I should be given the full autonomy to decide that they're going to get published there. And let's understand one thing. I have a very, very intricate and special relationship with an idea that I have created, which is extremely original, given it's very hard to come with these original ideas. This is a unique benefit that opening science hasn't dealt with because the only way to protect it is granting full autonomy to the student with the work they create. And this is